everybody, this is King L5, and today I'm bringing you a series between Asnaptic and Alliswell, otherwise known as Alice. And so this is a series, obviously. The starting map is Inkblot because this is a quite old series because I've been procrastinating on commentating this. Anyways, let's get right into the game. So Alice, he does get the attack shooter in a little bit of a higher position than I would personally go for. I would personally use Asnaptic's position because it is a little bit closer to the track, whereas Alice's attack spot can have more of a potential to miss the player's sent balloons. Although since he's on the right side, it doesn't really matter too much because the attack on the right side is much better than the attack on the left side. So it looks like both players going for some layering, and it looks like Asnaptic was a little bit more greedy with his 3-0 attack upgrade, so he is going to be a little bit up on eco in this game. And let's see if that can add up to maybe even a 1 farm lead. Can be pretty big on this map going into round 20 or 18 or anything along those lines. And it looks like both players sending the eco, and now they're going to have to get up their Ring of Fire. It's like Asnaptic sending some blacks, trying to force Alice to get up the Ring of Fire. And Alice retaliates with some pinks, very good idea, and Asnaptic does get up the Ring of Fire in time to stop the blacks. Now, if you can see, Alice is up by 3 lives, which means he has a major disadvantage going into round 40 because, he can't defend late game, and with the higher lives he might be inclined to try. Anyways, moving on. Both players getting up their farms. Looks like Asnaptic is slightly behind in farming, although it doesn't really matter too much because it looks like he does have the higher balloon income, and it looks like he is about the same in farm, so it doesn't really matter too much. I think having a little bit more balloon eco is a little bit more advantageous rather than having a slight farm advantage, because farm advantages are kind of hard to keep. Like, one person could just be a little bit greedier and they'll catch up in farms quite easily, whereas eco you can't really do quite the same thing. Well, I guess you can, but it's not really common to send more eco. Anyways, so round 12, both players getting up their camo detection. Actually, Asnaptic being a little greedy and aggressive. Both players actually sending camo pinks. I would not recommend this to a friend at all. I think camo pinks, especially space camo pinks, are a complete waste of money unless your opponent is at like 20 lives or something, in which case you may as well go all in round 12. So that being said, it looks like both players have low farms. If you didn't send any camo pinks, they'd be able to have another entire farm at this point, but because they sent those pinks, they're not going to be able to afford that. And it looks like Asnaptic being a little bit greedy here, getting his farms up. He's trying to stay even with Alice's farms, maybe even get a little bit ahead, because his balloon income is better, so as long as he can keep up with farms, he's going to be a little bit better off going into the mid to late game. So all Asnaptic really has to do, looks like he's sending a rush, forcing Alice to get up the balloon jitsu, but since Alice did not have to sell any farms, that puts Asnaptic at a pretty big disadvantage in the money game, and that's not too good. It looks like he's still trying to keep even with the farms, which I can respect. That's a pretty good play, because that's really all you can do when your opponent gets the blue jitsu without selling, because if you send the ceramics without them selling, you just wasted about $900 to $1,200 on that rush, and your opponent hasn't wasted any money. They got up defense that they would have to get for round 18 anyways. So overall, I'm really liking Alice's position in this game. Looks like he is up in farms, although it's kind of hard to tell because of Asnaptic's weird farm placements, just kind of unorthodox. But that being said, Alice does have more defense up. He has the 3-0 attack upgrade, whereas Asnaptic only has the 0-0, which means even if they're even in farms, well, that was kind of awkward to say, even if they're even, but even if they have the same farms, Alice is a little bit farther up. But it looks like Asnaptic getting even more defense, getting some 0-0 attacks in anticipation for a round 20 rush, because that's generally what Alice does, either round 20 or 22. And since we don't see a round 20 rush, I'm fully expecting a round 22 rush. I don't think Alice would take it late in this particular scenario. I think he's going to try to use his money advantage to his advantage right now. And do we see a rush? And we do see the ZOMG. So it looks like we're going to have some epic micro coming from Asnaptic here. He gets up the attack spam to really just destroy the ZOMG layer very quickly, but he hasn't saboed yet, so that could be a very bad thing because you can potentially get a sabo glitch in this situation, and sabo glitches are not a good thing. And he uses the sabo, but he does not get the sabo glitch, very lucky for him. And he does get the Bloon Jitsu on strong just to help break down the ZOMG layer plus the BFB layers underneath it. Looks like he is saboing again just to make sure the BFBs do not have sabo glitch because that can be quite detrimental. And it looks like he's spamming his 0-0 attacks, getting ready to Maelstrom as we see a second ZOMG enter the field. Looks like he's starting his Maelstorms a bit too early in my opinion. They're not going to do a lot of damage versus the BFBs. They're more for the Moab layer. So this is a lot of money that he's wasting, and he's not going to have that money for the second ZOMG. He's actually sold his Ring of Fire, so this is not looking too good for him. Looks like he will be able to defend the first ZOMG at least, although there's a lot of stuff leaking there. Will he defend? Looks like he's leaking, but he is going to defend the first one with 54 lives left, but he does have an entire second ZOMG to deal with. And at this point, he doesn't have the Ring of Fire, so naturals are going to be quite a bit harder to deal with. Although they shouldn't be too bad since they are saboed, but it looks like this is going to be a pretty hard defend, just because he was very inefficient with his Maelstorms earlier. Looks like he's getting another double shot. He upgraded it to a Jitsu, and all he really needs to do is to be able to defend this and then have enough money to buy the defense for AI. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. Let's find out. So he goes for the Maelstrom. Looks like he's going to have to definitely sell all his farms and then some to even have a chance to defend this. And we see a lot of stuff going through. I don't see him defending this at all. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going through. There's no Ring of Fire to help out. There's nothing really going on for him. Although he does have 3 Maelstorms up at the same time, which means that's a lot of money he has. And will he actually defend this? This could be really close. And it looks like he actually is going to defend this possibly. Looks like, oh, he's getting Sabo Glitch. Does he get the fast micro? Down to 30 lives, 26 lives, and he does defend actually. So that's quite intense, but I don't think he has enough money to buy the infrastructure necessary to survive AI, whereas Alice does have the infrastructure already up. And it looks like Asnaptic is just going to get money drained here, and he is probably going to lose this game. It looks like Alice is in a very solid position. I can't really see Asnaptic winning right here unless Alice gets complete garbage distraction luck on round 27 AI. Looks like we see the counter here. We should be able to see a Sabo, but Alice was... Good job, Alice. Excellent choke. So moving on to pools. Looks like Alice choosing this map, and if you don't know, the meta has changed quite a bit on pools since this game happened. It looks like Alice is going for the newer strategy, it seems, or he's going eco, I'm not really sure. But the new strategy is Ice, Ninja, Farm, and then either Tack or Dart. Tack is generally a lot more popular because the Maelstrom is very useful for round 13 rushes. And without Tack, you don't really have an ability that can clear a large amount of balloons from your side of the field. Whereas with Dart, you have a much cheaper round 11 defense. And round 11 is something that's pretty threatening versus that new strat, because you don't really have the best grouped white popping power. So anyways, it looks like Alice's ice timing is really awful. He's losing a lot of lives here. He's having to get 4 ice towers, and he's still leaking. So it looks like Asnaptic he's not leaking too much. I mean, with the attack ninja mortar farm strat, you do kind of expect to leak a lot, and it's just not out of the ordinary to be at, for example, 112 lives right now. So it looks like he's doing a pretty good job at maintaining his lives decently, whereas Alice is down on lives, although from him not getting any farms so far, we can pretty much decide, well, we can pretty much know for sure that he's going for the eco strategy. Now the eco strat I think is pretty good, apart from there's some key weaknesses, like round 20 you can get money drained very, very easily, and round 13 generally not a problem, but round 15 is a huge problem, especially camo ceramics. If the farmer has enough money, they can overwhelm a Bloon Jitsu, which is pretty insane, but it can happen. It looks like both players getting up their Ring of Fire, and it looks like Alice is going for the Ring of Fire on round 8 variant of the strategy. Some people, and what I would do if I were using that strategy, is to use the 3 ninjas at the player sent entrance to pop the whites, and then just keep your ice and get your Ring of Fire on round 13. I find that works a lot better because you get a higher income, and it looks like Alice has stopped his income already, about halfway into round 9, to afford the mortar plus the ice stall. That's kind of what you need for round 13. You can defend pretty cheaply on this map, because the ice trap makes it so that only camos can really threaten you, and since it's pools, the farmer will have nowhere near enough money to send a large enough cam grow rush. So as you can see, the ice stall all the way in the top, that's getting ready for Asnaptic to rush potentially, but it's kind of not a smart idea to round 13 rush versus the ice strat, unless they're at like 5 lives or something ridiculous like that. So it looks like round 15, Alice still hasn't sent any eco, so I'm expecting a eco rush of a few ceramics just to force Asnaptic to sell some farms, probably at the end of round 16. And it looks like Asnaptic checking the camo button, and he is going for the camo ceramics that I talked about earlier. Alice does get the Bloon Jitsu, but he actually sells everything for the ice stall. It looks like maybe things were leaking that we didn't see, and he goes for the counter. And Asnaptic only affords a double shot plus a Jitsu, but will it be enough? He actually sells his Ring of Fire, and we see the leads coming through, and it looks like Alice is out of money though, so it looks like Asnaptic is going to take this game potentially, and he does take the game. And that means he's actually up 2-0, so looks like Alice has a lot of work cut out for him. And so he's picked Hydro. Hydro is also another short map like pools. I think he favors his chances on shorter maps rather than longer maps because, you know, NLL is hard, and shorter maps you can be a lot more aggressive, and Alice is a very aggressive player. So it looks like both players going for the Mortar and Ninja. Alice is using my ninja spot, whereas Asnaptic is using pretty much the old ninja spot. A lot of people have switched over to either my spot or Smurf's spot because generally it's better versus round 4, and maybe you'll be able to see this in this game if they're both not greedy. But it looks like both players are being greedy, so they're both going to leak. Both players actually getting up their ninja there, so you can see on the right Asnaptic has leaked a ton more than Alice, and I just think it could be because of the ninja spot, although I don't know if it's that big of a difference. I think it could also be just like Seeking Shurikens being stupid or something like that. But it looks like Alice is going for a bit of mixed eco. I don't think he would go full eco on this map. I think he definitely wants the farms, but it looks like he is going for a bit of mixed. I know he likes to go for 500 eco, or he used to. He used to go for 500 eco and then farms. I don't think that's especially viable nowadays. I think 450 and farm is a lot more viable, although 500 still does work, it's just not quite as good. Anyways, Alice using the Smurf spot for the second ninja to pop the AI blacks before the burning stuff can do a layer of damage. that gets basically 2 hits out of the mortar instead of 1, so I think that's much better than the ninja spot that Asnaptic is using. As you can see, he's getting pretty down on lives, and I expect to see a ricochet soon, but he actually gets up another farm. I don't know if I agree with that, because these lives, you're leaking very slowly, but it does add up very quickly. And he does finally get the ricochet, but he's down to 43 lives, which means he's very vulnerable to a rainbow rush or around 15 rush. Basically, it means he has to overreact, even versus a teaser rush. So we'll see if Alice can maybe send a teaser around 13 rush, maybe 2 or 3 sets of rainbows, just to force Asnaptic to basically sell all his farms to try to defend a potential all-out rush, because that's what he would have to do, otherwise he risks losing the game right there. So round 12, and actually Asnaptic only has a 1 farm lead, and can he fit the farm? Looks like he might not be able to fit the farm on the right side. That's kind of funny. And Asnaptic is actually selling for a rod of his own. I don't know if that's the right play, because it wasn't all in, and Alice wasn't that low on lives, so he can just get 2 ricochets and keep a farm. He's going for the counter. Asnaptic also getting the double ricochet, but he has to sell all his farms. This is what I was talking about. He has to overreact because he has such low lives. If Alice sent camos underneath that, he would basically be screwed unless he microed perfectly, so he did have to overreact. And we see Ceramics here forcing the sell on the second ricochet, and now we see it looks like an all-in rod, and I don't see Asnaptic winning this game. I see lots of Bloons leaking, but the regular pink counter, and it looks like Asnaptic dies just before Alice. So that's going to be 2-1 in Asnaptic's favor as we move on to A game. Both these players picking very short maps, and that's very interesting, you see. A game, this map also has a pretty new meta as opposed to what they're using in this video. There's basically just a new Ring of Fire spot that makes it play out almost exactly like Zen Garden, so you can get way better farms, and round 15 is way cheaper to defend. It's just overall much better for the farmer, and it also works for eco strats as well. But anyways, I don't think that was developed at all in the time that this series was played, so we're just going to see the regular old strategy. Both players getting up their 2-0 attack. You do need a 3-0 to defend, pretty much, but you can get by with a 2-0 for a while. You're just going to leak a little bit, and generally the lives are worth it to get a little bit more eco, because this map, even though lives do matter a little bit, it's the farm eco that really makes the difference between the two players, and farm eco is very hard to come back from. I mean, it's hard to come back from a very big farm deficit. So if you're down in farms, you're basically screwed on this map unless you can get some round 15 luck on your side. Looks like Asnaptic going for some layering at the very start of round 6. I think Alice can just get up two ninjas, but he actually chooses to get up a 2-0 attack instead of a second ninja. It's slightly better versus the grouped Bloons, but slightly worse versus the spaced Bloons, so it's kind of a trade-off. It's also a little bit more expensive, but I think it did save them a little bit of lives here. I don't think that's going to matter too much, though. Both players getting up their Ring of Fire, and Asnaptic going for heavy mixed income, whereas Alice already has 3 farms up, whereas Snapper is just getting his first farm now. I think Alice probably in the better situation up until round 15. Then after that I would put the advantage into Asnaptic's hands, because the thing about Bloon Eco, which he has a lot of, is that it pays off over time. Farms are a lot better for short-term money, and we see some regrow leads, but Alice gets the burning stuff and he's going to be absolutely fine versus those. Zebra's kind of a waste of money there. But as I was saying, the eco pays off for a while. Farms are better short-term than eco, so Alice is going to have the advantage round 13, round 15, but then when you get into the later mid-rounds, like round 18, round 20, Asnaptic has a pretty big advantage in money. So it looks like both players going for the Jitsu defense, trying to test their luck if they're Alice. low lives, you generally don't want to go for the Jitsu defense because you can die very quickly. But it looks like Asnaptic not sending any ceramics, I kind of agree with that, because if he did send any ceramics, that's wasting a lot of money that he can spend on farms, and since he's behind in farms so much, he does kind of need to be a little bit greedy. But it looks like he is going for the mixed income with the whites, and that's very interesting. I don't think he has enough farms yet to really sustain his income. Like, for round 20, you do need to sell some farms to be able to defend. You can't just rely on your Bloon eco and your mixed eco. You do need to have some money saved up in your farms. And I don't know if he has enough money to be able to defend round 20, because in sending that mixed eco, he's basically confirmed that he's not sending any ceramics, which means Alice could be extremely greedy. If you look at his farms, he has way more than Asnaptic. And while he does have about half the eco, I would estimate, having more than double the farms is pretty much worth it. And Asnaptic going for even more income, probably going up to around 900 or something with the farms he has. And that's pretty decent, not gonna lie. Around 19, he could layer in some ceramics here to just force Alice to get more defense. He actually gets the Republic, so that could mean he's trying to take this late. I don't know if I agree with that entirely, because we saw Asnaptic has pretty much no money saved up. He just got the farm right before round 20. And do we see a BFB rush? We do not. So I would guess round 22, just like Inkblot. I think that's exactly what's going to happen, because I don't think Alice would go late on this map, especially versus mixed incomes like what Asnaptic has right now. So I'm expecting to see a ZOMG layered with a bunch of fast cooldown BFBs. Let's see if that's what Alice sends. And Asnaptic getting even more farms. But we do not see a ZOMG at the moment. And we actually see the 4th tier farm, which is very not what I expected, to be honest. So Alice gets up the sprayers and the double shot. He should be able to defend this, maybe. Looks like he does defend, and so does Asnaptic. Both players defending just fine. But at this point, once you have the factory, mixed income is a lot worse. Like, in general, when you're going mixed income, you want to be able to have a factory by 23 at the latest, by selling like pretty much every other farm to get the factory, whereas Asnaptic just got the Republic on 24. Now I know getting the factory on 23 is kind of unreasonable, but that's kind of what you want to aim for. And actually we see a ZOMG, so not going late game. And it looks like Asnaptic going to have to sell quite a few farms just to get the Sabo immediately, because otherwise he risks having a Sabo glitch, and that is pretty much GG on this map. I mean, not exactly, because the player sent path is extremely long. You can recover from it, but generally you have to spend way more money recovering versus just keeping it saboed, whereas it's not worth it to try to sabo later. And we see the AI maybe causing some trouble for Asnaptic, although since it is saboed, the single ring of fire does handle it pretty much by itself, along with the Jitsus and the double shot and the sprayers. But it looks like he's going to Sabo again, trying to avoid Sabo glitch at all costs on the BFBs. And it looks like the AI might become quite a bit of an issue for Asnaptic, especially after he defends this. And we see another ZOMG, and Alice actually selling all his farms to go all in on this. I don't know if I agree with that, but I mean, it's a decent option, I guess. I mean, one ZOMG definitely wasn't killing, but I guess you could have tried to money drain and then take it even later with a late game rush, because there's no way you're defending late game without any Republics, or not, sorry, without any factories, because Asnaptic still isn't, he hasn't gotten his factory, and I wouldn't expect him to during a rush, but like, even if Alice didn't send this second batch of a rush, he would still have an advantage going into the later game with the factory. I don't know about that though. We'll see if Alice can clutch out the win. It's looking like it's in Asnaptic's favor at this point, because Alice basically can't get up any more defense because he has no money. He spent it all on rushing, whereas Asnaptic has the very high balloon income as well as a few more farms to sell to defend all this. And it looks like he is able to defend the fast cooldown BFBs with very little problems. Looks like we might be able to see a Sabo glitch here. It's going, yeah, definitely a Sabo glitch. Will he be able to recover from this? He goes for the Sabo there. It looks like he will recover, but at what cost? He has no more farms left, and Alice is not going to die until at least round 31 AI, I would say. So basically, Asnaptic has to defend this. There's no way he can really stall this out, because, you know, you can't stall out a CMG without completely neglecting the AI, which is what's going to be an issue for you. So Asnaptic probably running quite low on money. We see another Sabo glitch. Let's see if he can recover from this one. Looks like he's not even trying to Sabo again. He's just going for Maelstrom spam. I would definitely try to Sabo again. And he actually mortar stalls. Interesting play. That's about $3,000 down the drain that you wouldn't have to spend if you Saboed again, but like, let's see if it works out for him. And it's looking pretty grim. He goes for the mortar stall again, but at this point the AI is looking quite threatening, as well as the single camo metal, as you can see. He goes for the another Sabo, but at this point it looks like he's just going to have to stall out the AI. He's trying to Maelstrom, but the AI is so strong that it's not really going to do much. And we see a Ceramic go by, and he leaks some lives, and I just don't see Asnaptic winning this. The AI is just so tough after the rush, because he sold everything to defend the rush, and the AI, he doesn't have anything to defend that. Whereas Alice, he has all the defense to sell for mortar stalls potentially, and there's basically no way Asnaptic is defending this round 31 AI, which means we are most likely going to get a game 5. Probably going to be tied up 2-2 after this, I would imagine. And we see the AI going through. He's doing a lot of Maelstorms, but that's just wasting his money even more. And the Camo Pink's starting to go through. He goes for the counter last ditch, not going to work, I'm pretty sure. As he does he die? He does die to the AI Pinks. And that was a very intense game, and pretty close down to the wire. But Alice did manage to clutch that, and he might even bring back this series. He was down 2-0. Let's see if he can make it a 3-2 victory from that. So it looks like Asnaptic has picked cards, and most people, when they pick cards, they go eco, especially versus Alliswell, because Alice is a very good farm player, but pretty terrible at eco and keeping lives in general. So you would expect Alice to farm here, and in my opinion, eco has a very favorable matchup to farms on this map. So we'll see if Asnaptic goes for his farms, and it looks like he's sending some blues, so he might be farming. And it looks like he is caring about lives with the ninja, so trying to be up on farms, not farms, lives is a very good thing if you're going eco. If you're down on farms, what do I keep saying? If you're down on lives with eco, it's very, very hard to win, unless you're facing a farm player that you know is going to leak a lot. Like, for example, Alice. Right now, Alice has the ninja in my opinion, a pretty bad spot. I would personally put my ninja at the very entrance, very beginning of the player sent path. Like basically right underneath where it says he has 120 lives, basically right under that, as close to the start as you could possibly get. The ninja usually does not whiff when you do that. And we see some layering here. It's going to be quite deadly, actually. Layering on this map is really, really good, because all the ninjas, they only hit the blacks in one certain area, and that means you can layer with yellows and blues and all that to get a very, very good layer going. And Asnaptic does reveal the farms, but it looks like he is also playing the lives game. He does want to kind of force the late game and defend whatever Alice sends. That's what the mixed income plus caring about lives will do. It'll put you with the higher lives, but the farm disadvantage, but the eco advantage. It's kind of a toss-up which one is really better. I personally would like Asnaptic's position in this game rather than Alice, because I do like defending, as most people know, and I am a mixed eco kind of person most of the time, although nowadays I kind of don't do that in farm versus farm matchups because, you know, secret strategies, haha. But Asnaptic isn't too far behind on farms. He's behind 2.5, 3 farms now. I mean, that is a lot, but he does have a lot of balloon income to kind of make up for it. And he's going for even more, which is also harassing Alice, making him get up a little bit more defense unless he wants to slowly leak and die, which is never a good thing, by the way. Don't leak and die, it's not recommended. If I were Alice right now, I would probably send a few ceramics with those round 16 AI leads at the end, just because the Distraction Ninja would have so much blaring against it that these ceramics would definitely force at least 1 or 2 farm cells, and that would be really huge in this game because, well, Asnaptic doesn't really rely on his farms too much for his income. That's his reserve cash for defending, and if you kind of deplete that reserve cash, it limits the eco he can get, whereas also your rushes are going to be that much more effective. But it looks like Asnaptic has kind of caught up on farms, although Alice should be able to get the factory pretty soon and basically have a huge advantage. But we'll see. Again, I would probably send some ceramics to layer in with those naturals just to force some selling from Asnaptic. But I mean, to each their own. Alice does get the factory here. He doesn't really have to worry about any rushes too much because Asnaptic, he spent all that time building up his eco. It'd be kind of worthless to throw that away now with around 18 rush. That basically gets rid of the only advantage he has, which is his income. So Asnaptic has been saving for a while. He's probably going to get up the factory pretty soon, although he does kind of want to anticipate the ZMG rush potentially. He does get the factory here, and if we see a ZMG, that would be quite hard to defend, especially on this map. But Alice getting up the second factory right here, right before round 23, that's going to get him a lot of money. Whereas Asnaptic, he is going to be a little bit lower on the money, but he does have a large balloon income, so it's really a toss-up who's ahead in the money game. And I think Asnaptic will actually end up catching up in farms potentially, or maybe being 1 farm down, but the balloon eco is more than enough to make up for it. Looks like Alice getting the 4th tier bomb a little bit earlier than you might want. Generally people get it on round 25 for the AI ceramics, but I mean, cards is a weird map. Sometimes you need a little bit more defense. One thing that I kind of don't agree with is Asnaptic's Mauler spots. I personally like mine pretty much right next to where the cluster is, basically where Alice put his first one, not where he put his second one, that one's garbage. But the first Mauler that he placed is really, really good because it can basically hit the entire map. It makes you need overall like less Maulers to defend. Like Asnaptic having to get 4 Maulers to defend the AI, you really only need 3 with the inner spots to defend round 27, which is the hardest AI round. Looks like Alice is testing his luck with only 2 Maulers, but he's getting more ninjas to make up for it. I don't know how well that's going to work. Looks like it's working pretty decently, and he is going to be able to defend that with only 2 Maulers. So that's going to put him at a pretty big advantage because he doesn't have to spend as much money on the defense. But it looks like Asnaptic does get his 4th farm, which means he is kind of catching up to Alice, and Alice definitely going to be down on lives pretty much guaranteed because there's pretty much no way that Asnaptic is going to leak down to under 34 and not die. So Yeah, and since round 27 has already passed, AI is pretty easy after this point, and I'd be very surprised if anyone died to AI right now. Looks like Asnaptic going to go for the 5th farm, and he does get it before round 30, which is going to be pretty big. And looks like he gets the 4-2 upgrade there, and he might be going for the 6th farm there. I don't know if that's especially wise. I would probably stick for the 5 farms and the Bloon Eco. I think that's more than enough to defend, and just start spamming maulers right now. Whereas Alice, starting to save up his money, not going to go for the 7th farm. I think that's also quite wise. You want to save up your money to have as big of a rush as possible. Getting the 7th farm, while it does pay off eventually, it's not enough because you'd have to end up selling farms to keep the constant rush. But Asnaptic does get the 6th farm, even farms now with the eco advantage, but Alice has been saving for quite a while, so he definitely has at least $30,000 saved up, if not more, to kind of make the start of his rush that much more beefy, I guess. It's a weird word, but I'll go with it. Basically wants to send the largest round 32 plus rush. Looks like he's going for 33 though. I don't know about that, because it means that Asnaptic has to defend even less ZMGs. Well, maybe more ZMGs, but they're later, so they're easily stallable. I don't know about that. I would probably send 32. But it looks like here the rush has begun. Asnaptic just spamming maulers all across the map. And what I would do is I would start getting maulers in the middle area because they hit most of the map, and they're just going to be a little bit more efficient than the maulers that he's placing right now. Although if you can fill up the map by the time the ZMG gets there, it's not going to matter too much, but it's just little things like that. The maulers will be more efficient, so if you do have to sell them, at least they'll do more while they're, built. Looks like he is starting to build maulers in that location now, and he's actually not keeping 4 sabos up at all times. He's actually rebuying and selling it. That's kind of a trade-off, because while he will have more maulers up initially, buying sabos and selling them, that's a lot of money. I think it's like $2,000 that you're losing every single time, maybe even more. I think that $2,000 adds up. That's like basically a whole mauler every single time. And the AI camos are looking to be quite a bit of an issue. He's getting up a 2nd mortar cell. He's already sold a farm, and that's the point where I don't know if it was worth it to get the 6th farm, because he did sell it already. I don't know if it's really paid off. I haven't done the calculations on it, but I think it might barely pay off. Not really too important at this point, because he is spamming the maulers. He's getting the sabos, again wasting money with the buy-sell, but I don't know if it's going to matter too much. As long as he has enough money to defend, it's going to be perfectly fine. So he just needs to spam as many maulers as he can, and it looks like the camos are gone now. At least that's going to be the end of them. So really only 1 more mortar stall is necessary for the AI to make sure you don't leak. And now he's down to 3 farms, and Alice is down to 4, and quite a bit of slow motion here. And it looks like Asnaptic is looking pretty decent at this point. He should definitely spam some maulers in the area above his farms. I think those spots are really good, because they hit the ZMGs at the entrance, and then also when they come back around, again hitting kind of the whole map with the 1 mauler spot. And also it does help versus all the Moabs and stuff, because the Moabs will go to the end of the track faster, and when you have maulers at the end of the track, you can pop those Moabs even faster and get them out of the way. So you only need 1 mortar stall rather than like 2. Really, late game, you only want to do 1 mortar stall per ZMG if you can help it. And it looks like Asnaptic is probably going to defend this. If he doesn't, I'd be kind of surprised, because the amount of maulers he has, plus he still has 2 more farms to sell, and he could start selling maulers for mortar stalls if he needs to. the maulers at the entrance aren't really too important anymore, because anything that they would damage wouldn't really reach the end by the time you reach round 38. So you can pretty much sell those for mortar stalls at that point. One thing that I think he should do is definitely try to keep his farms until round 38, because you get a lot of instant money. But it looks like he did sell his second to last farm, and that's going to be not so good. He's missing out on a lot of money on round 38 there. I don't know if it'll matter too much. He does accidentally get an assassin there. That's going to be not so good for his money situation, but like having a little bit of assassins every once in a while isn't a bad thing. Actually, assassins are a really useful tool when defending late game. For example, if there's a CMG at the entrance, not the entrance, the exit, and it's almost popped but you don't have enough maulers there hitting it, you can assassin a few times and then mortar stall to round 40. That's what I do on Temple pretty much every time, because that's like pretty much the best way to defend, is spam maulers, and if it gets a little bit too close, assassin and stall. And if another ZMG gets close to the end, you can assassin again and stall even more. It only takes around 7,000 eco to infinitely stall BFBs, and if you have 6,000, that's only like one mauler cell every once in a while, which you're going to be able to maintain easily to round 40, probably even to round 41, without too much difficulty. Looks like these ZMGs are getting pretty far, but round 38 should be starting pretty soon, and after that there's only round 39, and then round 40 will arrive and Asnaptic will be able to win with the lives. So basically, at this point he can start selling the front maulers, as they're not really useful anymore. And it looks like he is starting to do that a little bit to sell for the mortar stalls, and I think he does kind of have this in the bag. I don't see how he could possibly throw this. I mean, I guess if he messes up his micro super bad, I guess Alice can win. And I guess he was wasting quite a bit of money on buying and selling these sabos, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to money drain him to the point where he dies. Pretty sure it won't. And you see the ZMG that's closest to the end is almost popped. It's almost round 39 starting, and he basically has about 1 minute left, about 60 seconds in game time, until he can basically claim the win. At this point, sabos are kind of useless. I would definitely stop buying them, because all you really need is to mortar stall until round 40. And if you're mortar stalling, it doesn't matter if they're slowed or not. It's just a waste of money to sabo at this point. Looks like he has the furthest one down to BFBs, but there's another one right behind it. That one is also pretty close to getting popped though. I don't know, it might be pretty close though. He's selling a lot of the maulers already. He's saboing again. I don't agree with that yet again. But the mortar stall is going to be quite useful in this. I would definitely try to space out my mortar stalls as much as possible. Looks like that's what he's doing. He's waiting for the BFBs to start moving before he goes for another stall. I think that's a very good idea. Probably I would do that myself. And he does sabo again. I'm not really sure why. It's not really worth it at all. But it looks like a lot of BFBs are reaching the end. He still has about 30 seconds left until round 40. I don't know if he can actually do it. He's running out of things to sell. And that 1000 eco is coming in handy here a lot, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. He's running out of stuff. Looks like he has about 15 seconds, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, because cards does naturally anti-stall a bit. And the BFBs are getting awfully close. He gets the farm on accident, and he dies. Wow. So, remember what I said about him messing up micro? That kind of happened there. And well, I don't know if he would have defended if he got his mortar. I think he was running out of money regardless. It looked really good for him until he kind of sold all his stuff really quickly, and he didn't really have enough money at the end. Anyways, I think that's a pretty good series, and with that, that's the down 2-0 comeback for Alice, and good job on that one. And I'll see you guys next time.